One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Press the button and off we go. I'm eager to see how high we go in the first few seconds of business. The answer is we're up a lot. 1,400 points on the Dow, still rising. That's over 3.5%. Significant gain. And look at that. Every single one of the Dow 30 in the green. Somebody's buying what's one. One has just popped into the red. Oh no, he's popped back into the green. So that's a full house of green. The S&P 500, that's up more than 3%, 3 1/3%, 169 points. The Nasdaq Composite, solid gain right there. We're at 3.7%, 585 points. Back to big tech. Let's have a look at them. We've got them all higher. Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, Microsoft, Apple, all up better than 2%, sometimes 5% to the upside. Take a look at United Health and Goldman. They are Dow stocks, both up very sharply. United Health 11%. We'll explain that in a minute. Goldman Sachs up 4%. Taken together, those two stocks add 460 points to the Dow Industrials. Pull up Apple, please. Taylor, you've got this story.
Yes.
Apple planning a big...
Caroline, is the president
I'm smiling because I told you. And yeah, every once in a while you do need to have a little bit of I told you so. We all talked about it. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. If you can. I understand not everybody is in a position to buy the so-called dip. But there are a lot of people on the left right now kind of freaking out. They're kind of worried. They were hoping that today's press conference with Karoline Leavitt was going to be a feasting opportunity for them. They thought it was going to be Black Monday yesterday, and that today she'd have to come out there and just face them with fangs sharpened. And with those fangs sharpened, they were going to come after her hard. Now, I don't know what they're going to say at 1 o'clock. She can come out there like the cock of the walk at this point because, oh, wow, what a turnaround. What an amazing turnaround. Doesn't mean we're out of the woods. I'm not saying that whatsoever, But what you can definitely count on is that it's not going to be the so-called crash, epic crash that they were actually hoping for. So that video with Stuart Varney, that was first thing when the markets opened this morning. As of right now, the markets have retracted a little bit. We've got the Dow at 38,926, still up 2.53%. It's in the green. And you can see on the chart there, the intraday chart, that it went up and then it's been settling. People have been taking profit. It dipped. And then what happened when it dipped? It went right back up because people, what did they do? They bought the dip. I mean, this is what you're looking at. Right there, bam. Right there, bam. And it's going to keep going that way for the foreseeable future. Gold pricing. Gold right now up 1.45%. So green. And then one of the most damaged stocks out there is Tesla. Tesla is up 3.64%. I want you to see something with Tesla. Again, the dip, bam, came right back up as people jumped in. Now it's dipped again, and right now it's dipped even further. You know what's coming next. Yep, you can guess it. It's going to come up. So now here we are at the precipice of the 1 o'clock press conference, and Karoline Leavitt's going to come out there with a whole lot of hand, as George Costanza has said. She's coming out there ready to just beat these people. In addition to the stock market, then late last night, President Trump had a couple strong Supreme Court rulings. He's rolling. Many of you know what we call that around here.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
I'm looking at somebody posted, I wanted the market to drop even more, but the president is doing too good of a job. Joseph, that might be the comment of the morning. We're hoping, go down further, but he's doing such a great job. Over 70 different countries at this point are coming to the White House, and so now the left really has no messaging. It's amazing watching how these people are having to capitulate and change on the fly and what they said literally 24 hours ago. I mean, literally yesterday, they can no longer say today. And then they also have to hope that you forget everything that was said yesterday. Those are the people who watch their crap. Because they've never seen anything like this. And I'm going to show you something here in a couple of minutes. It'll prove to you. None of us, no one in our lifetime has seen anything like what President Trump is doing. Whether you like him or you hate him, at this point, people are realizing, wow, this guy's a tornado. He's a whirling dervish. He is all of that put together. The Tasmanian devil, like in Bugs Bunny. He's just whooping butt, just making you try to keep up, and nobody can keep up at this point. Which is a great thing, because this entire country needed to be shaken to its core and slapped and backslapped and said, wake up! We can't do this anymore. And whether he wins or whether he fails, nobody can say he didn't try everything. And he did a couple of things today that's really going to cause people even more pain. I'm talking about the people who want to embrace the newcomers. Because not only are they going to back up the dump truck and start tossing them out, people out there saying, oh, it wasn't really a complete victory for Trump. It was just about venue right now. They're grasping on to anything. What did Trump do? Did he rest on his laurels? Wow, we won yesterday with the Supreme Court. I think we could take a break now. Nope, he came out hitting them again, which I will show you in a second. But for now, a little bit of housekeeping at 12:30, right before Karoline Leavitt comes out. I've got a special guest coming on. It's another J6er. I just thought it'd be interesting to see like how he's doing and what's gone on in his life as everything has happened since January 6th. So we'll hear from him at 12:30. But in the interim, let's jump into more of the pre-show.
Taking the resistance seriously?
How could you take them seriously after those videos, Jesse? I'm not sure if I should laugh or cry that this is the current state of the modern day Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has been completely captivated by these far left lunatics. And I'm not sure which Democrat on Capitol Hill is going to stand up and be the sensible voice, but I won't hold my...
I couldn't believe this video when I saw it, that they had another man out there on a leash. What is it with these people? How do they think that's going to further getting more support when you got people out there being walked like dogs? I just don't get it. Putting on dog masks, rolling over, pretending you're an animal, wearing stupid costumes, having all kinds of arrows and other things in your head, and you expect people to embrace you as... I can't. This is a party that is so lost. They're even trying, people have asked me yesterday, what, are you worried about the shadow government? No. Why am I not worried about the shadow government? Because they already had the real government and couldn't do anything. Those of you who are worried about this so-called shadow government and how they might cause trouble, they couldn't do it when they were in power as the real government. What makes you think or have any worry whatsoever that these people holding their own little, kangaroo court hearings, which have no effect and no power? They can't subpoena anybody. They can't make you come sit down. So all they're going to do is going to be a dog and pony show for the media to latch onto. I hope they go as far as bringing in one of the dog walkers and his pet guy. I would love to put that on television. Please, Adam Schiff, whatever you do, bring in the dog men. I would love to see you guys prop up a gimp up there and let him, in his plastic leather suit, tell you how he's being oppressed. It would do wonders. It would be even better than Jasmine Crockett. I'm telling you, Adam, if you bring in the dog people, it would make the day for the Democrat Party. You guys would be so successful. You don't even know. At that point, your rating may even go to 22%. So please, I don't want to hear any more about this shadow government, because it's a shadow government. It's fake. It's feckless. It's got nothing. Why would I even pay attention to these nuts? Why would you pay attention to them? You already know, as the real government, they couldn't succeed in anything. So what makes you think that this so-called kangaroo government can do anything? And Karoline Leavitt's right. It's now time. It's about time. It's long past time for us to begin laughing at these people. Pointing it out and laughing at them. Looking at their insanity and letting people, we're not playing along anymore. I don't know what these people will do to me if I show some of this stuff. I don't know what some of the different platforms will reach out or try to hurt you if you call out some of this, but don't. At this point, laugh at them. I don't even feel sorry for them. You know why? Because they're choosing to look like dog men. You're choosing to roll over and play dead. I don't have any sympathy. Get some help. Talk to a doctor, because right now we're laughing at you. You are amusing us. There's nothing that normal people look at that and go, yeah, what do you want me to say, bro? Give him a milk bone, whatever. I don't care. You are now a jester. You are nothing but entertainment for us. So now when I show these things, just so you know, that's what I'm showing them for, to hopefully you guys can lighten up and laugh, because these people are gonzo.
Breath, and best of luck to them if one chooses to stand up. They are enjoying their lowest approval rating ever, because this is who they are trying to represent. These far left activists who don't stand for anything. They only stand against Donald Trump, and they hate, as As you just heard from that one individual who wished death upon the president of the United States, they not just hate him, they hate the nearly 80 million Americans who elected to vote him. The Democrats have officially become the party of crazy. President Trump and the Republicans are the party of common sense.
So that's what we should call them. The party of crazy. You are now deemed, we're anointing you, hitting you on the shoulder with the sword. You now can call these people the party of crazy. They are no longer the Democrat Party. We are MAGA, you are the crazies. And that's what you shall be deemed from this point on. Any politician that embraces this stuff, any politician that is willing to stand up and hug the newcomers, any politician that's willing to support men playing in women's sports, you are now the crazies. That's who you are. Don't care anymore. Not offensive. We're calling it as we see it. Deal with it. Period. I don't care.
Mark victory for the rule of law. And this is what we've been arguing on behalf of President Trump from day one. These are enemies of our state, of our country, and they should be deported. And what the judge ruled was going forward, from this day forward, all those planes that are gone are there. Those people are staying. So there are a lot of reasons why Americans are safer. From this point forward, the hearing will be held, it's a habeas hearing, in the court of confinement, which means in Texas. Yeah. So it will be a much faster hearing. They can't do class actions.
Right. That's a very important distinction from what happened yesterday. So everybody thinks that Trump can now just do anything he wants. No. So here's what's interesting. And it's great for Trump because they can expedite it, is that you have to give these people due process. Hold on. So the due process part isn't like walking them into a courtroom in Washington and allowing them to plead on, Bo Asperger's court. That ain't gonna happen. And you're not gonna get some court date, 2 years from now. That ain't gonna happen. And you're not gonna walk free while you're waiting for a court date. That ain't gonna happen. So what's going to happen is where they are detained, where they are caught at the border or otherwise, they're going to have to do immigration court in front of an immigration judge appointed by Trump. And he's probably going to put 200 immigration judges out there where your hearing will be, you're locked up, send them to go see the judge. Okay, let's do this. Boom, you're gone. That's it. And what's going to happen is the Democrats will not be able to, again, keep up with what Trump is going to do. Can you imagine if he parked 250 immigration judges down in Texas and he was running, 50 due diligence hearings per day? Number one, where are you going to get the money? Number two, you're going to have to really allocate resources down there. Oh, and then there's another thing President Trump decided to do. Again, they can't keep up, and this is absolute genius. Department of Homeland Security will now enforce a law. This law has been on the books. I can't believe it's not been enforced. That will allow them to fine newcomers up to $998 a day. Let's just call it $1,000. Up to $1,000 a day for failing to self-deport from the United States. This 1996 law also allows them to seize property for non-payment. So now, in addition to getting booted out of the country, you're going to have to pay $1,000 a day for not being booted. And if we find you own anything, jewelry, car, we're taking it. We're going to bankrupt the newcomers. And the law's already on the books. It's already there. And so, no, you can't go run into Bo Asperger. You'd have to talk to an immigration judge appointed by Trump. They're closing all the loopholes. These people won't have anything to do. And if I was a newcomer and I saw all this, I saw what happened with court yesterday, I see this, they're going to start charging me $1,000 a day, I think I would just leave. Don't even wait.
It will be a much smoother, simpler hearing, and these people will be deported. Americans are safer, and domestic terrorists, foreign terrorists, you better look out because we're coming after you. I'd start self-deporting if I were you, because we're going to find you.
President Trump.
Oh, you got no place to go. The Supreme Court ruled, following a court order, you can't go cozying up to Norm Eisen up in Washington and ACLU and all these other nut job agencies. Gonna have to do it in front of an immigration judge. And we're taking all the money, whatever money you got. Oh, imagine you're one of these Tres Leches guys and you've been, doing some illicit stuff and you got some cash. Well, we're gonna take that. That alone would make some of these people self-deport, wouldn't you think? Yeah, I'm thinking that they would definitely do that. And wait a minute, who was president in 1996? Wasn't that Bill Clinton? Look up who's president, you guys. Who was president in 1996 when this law was put into place? That's going to be very interesting. I'm pretty sure it was a Democrat president. So in that regard, you got nowhere to go. You got nowhere to go. Nowhere at all to go. And bye.
Has maximum negotiating leverage right here, right now. And I think it would be a mistake for anyone to think otherwise. And as I said, many of our trading partners, they have queued up and they have kept their cool. They have not escalated, and they will get priority in the queue. I think.
All right, so I got to come back to Scott because SV just sent me some new breaking news. This is exemplary. This shows you specifically why I tell you these people can't possibly keep up. I mean, it's almost like you're in a ring with a prize fighter. Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson. And after he hits you with the jab and that stuns you, and you're hoping you can recover enough to fight, and then bam, he hits you with the with the uppercut, and you're like, bam, let me just show you what I'm talking about. Okay, the Supreme Court just sided again with President Trump, overturning activist judge order that said he had to rehire all those 16,000 federal probationary employees. Oh my goodness.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
SV, thank you for sending that to me because, wow. So if it's hard for me to keep up because all these things are happening, and without that, I don't think they got an SV at the ACLU. But in any event, that's how fast this stuff is happening. I get on here, I start talking to you, and I'm just heralding all the stuff that happened, late last night or early this morning, and it hits, as they say, just keep coming. And that's why people are beginning to feel on the left that, again, we all knew it. We knew it was coming. But they're saying, hey, this is something we've never seen in our lives. And you know what? I kind of like it. See, that's one of the things, the themes you're going to hear moving forward, is that people have just gotten so bored with politics. It's the same old stuff. Always the same. Oh, yeah, we're going to do this and then we're going to do that and then left or right. And they all BS you. And all you find out afterwards is that they're almost one uniparty. And nobody wants to do anything because their donors are giving them money and they got to work on their next campaign and they really don't care what the people are saying because the people aren't paying them. And so we found out they're stealing money here to do and all, and it just hasn't worked. And now here's a guy who doesn't care. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to try and fix this. I'm going to try and save this country. And luckily, he just came just in time before the newcomers, the Transformers, and the dog people decided that they were going to be what's normal. The media was going to show you that's normal. We were the crazies. We are the extremists. I'm like thinking to myself, well, I know me and my wife, We're not looking at putting on dog masks and she's not walking me. That's not normal. It's nowhere close to normal. It's a severe behavioral disorder. Changing how God made you. Because, the imperfection that you thought was an imperfection, it was actually something, part of your anatomy that God made for you. You don't believe in God, I understand, but you can't, we aren't like crash test dummies that you can just take the arm off like Mr. Potato Head and stick it down there. It's not normal. I don't want to be a Mr. Potato Head experiment. I like my stuff where it's supposed to be. I like being able to, do what men do. I never had the idea that, you know what? I played football and I lifted weights. If I got on the girls' team, I could be really badass. I could break every single record that no one would ever care about. It would have been like a 40-year-old record by now. Like Barry Cunningham back in 1981, he broke the women's bench press record. For anyone who gives a crap. No, man, that ain't normal. We got to stop playing like it's normal. They made us believe it was normal. Everything. Don't mansplain me. Don't all this, all the words they made up. I don't get it anymore. I don't even want your dictionary. Pretty soon they're going to change it from dictionary, if you know what I mean.
Big mistake, this Chinese escalation, because they're playing with a pair of twos. Traditionally, if you look at the history of the trade negotiations, we are the deficit country. So what do we lose by the Chinese raising tariffs on us? We export 1/5 to them of what they export to us. So that is a losing hand for them.
Yesterday I used the analogy of the prom queen, and that the prom queen was going to have to, basically be trafficked because the American people were the prom queen. And you let the prom queen be sullied by everything you did to these other, with these other countries. Let them have their way with us. And it's so refreshing to see somebody like Scott Bessent come out and go, no, we hold all the cards. You're holding a pair of twos. Those of you who doesn't play poker, that's not really a good hand. And so he's telling these people, you got it all wrong. You've had it wrong for decades. We are the powerhouse. Stop trying to make America weak. Stop trying in the media to say that we are the big bully. The big bully is only a big bully when they strike out against innocent people. A bully only manufactures himself when he takes advantage of an inferior person. A bully is not somebody who's defending themselves because they're being assaulted. Right now, America is being assaulted. And we're just like, no, roll up the sleeves. Let's go. We're going to hit back finally. Finally, we're not taking the crap anymore. And they're like, oh my God, these people realized at this point that they can hit back? Yeah, we finally have a leader in this country who's like, we're not taking your crap anymore. You're going to have to deal with it.
The first trade policy memorandum rightly tasked the USTR to review China's compliance with the Phase 1 agreement. Under the agreement, China is obligated to purchase more U.S. goods and change basic practices and laws, the so-called structural commitments. The prior administration refused to discuss whether China complied with its structural commitments. And by the way, these were commitments made in response to tariffs in President Trump's first presidency, correct?
That's right.
What is your analysis of China's compliance with the structural commitments that it made in Phase 1 so far?
Our assessment, Chairman, is that in the initial stages of implementing the agreement, China made significant movement to make these structural changes, whether it was with respect to agricultural rules, financial services, or IP. We found during the Biden administration there was little enforcement and little communication, and that the Chinese did not comply with this agreement in large part. I've had a call with my counterpart. I've communicated to him our feeling on this, that they have not complied with the agreement. And I think we're disappointed by this.
But I think there was
So they're having a hearing. I don't know if it's over yet, but they're digging into, hey, how did all this imbalance in the trade happen? Bottom line, as he just heard, the answer was nobody home, nobody driving the bus. The Biden administration just let it happen. That's it. That's your answer. Why did all this? What? They didn't fight back. They completely laid down, acquiesced, let everybody have their way with us. It is so, I would say incompetence, but it's not, because it was what they wanted. Their idea of destroying America included letting the prom queen be abused by everybody around her. They took us for granted because we didn't matter anymore. With all the money being filtered and moved around and everything else, we were just an inconvenience. Like lab rats. If they die, they die. Whatever. And more people need to be waking up to this. Remember I just told you a second ago about all the breaking news keeps happening? Well, we got more for you. Here, bam, bada, boom. Benny just reported this. Actually, Breitbart did. Senior CIA official who was in charge of the military jab mandate under Biden has been fired. Exclusive. Senior CIA official who facilitated Biden's mandatory military jab has been let go. It's happening so fast. So very fast. I love it. I mean, I would love to know what you think. I love it. I think this is just the best thing ever. And it just keeps happening. So before John gets on here, I just want to get to this last story. So I've been telling you that people are waking up, right? Well, let's listen to this. And when you listen to this, understand. This is CNN. This is CNN.
this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking?
I'm sorry. You guys are surprised. He's not a lame duck, which would be kind of hard since he's only been in office 90 days. He's a soaring eagle. It must have hurt his throat to come out and say that. He's a soaring eagle.
About here. Let's talk about Trump executive orders in 2025. He's already signed 111 so far. That is the most at this point in a presidency in at least 100 years. In fact, it's the most in any single year, and we're only in April, since Harry S. Truman in the early 1950s. The bottom line is whether you like Trump or you don't like him, you can't say that he's come in and not try to deliver on what he at least believes was his promises on the campaign trail, and he's doing so in historic fashion.
How are people reacting to and feel about Trump's approach?
Yeah, okay, so Trump's approach here, what are we talking about? Trump's approach to presidential power. I think the American people recognize what he's doing here is completely different. We're talking...
They actually had to take a poll about that, huh? You actually had to ask people, hey, what do you think? Is he doing the same thing everybody else is doing? Or is he doing things different? You actually had to ask people that? Seriously? You don't think people in America, left and right, forget whether they like it or not, you don't think people in America went, oh my God, what this guy's doing? I can't even imagine what we're going to be in, 3 months from now. This guy has come in and taken a snow globe and shaked it and then hit it with a bat. You don't think people could recognize that with all these lawsuits and everything else going out? When's the last time you've seen the Supreme Court activated this early, this often in any presidential campaign or presidential, term? The Supreme Court usually gets a couple cases that they rule on by the end of October, and they do what they got to do. A bunch of them don't affect anybody. And now it's April. The dude got inaugurated in late January. And every single court in the country has been activated. The Supreme Court's been activated. The Homeland Security, the Secretary of the Treasury. How many times did we even see Mayorkas or Janet Yellen Or Blinken when he wasn't playing guitar or kissing up to Ukraine. This is nuts. Of course people know it's crazy.
Get this, 86% of the American public believes that Trump's approach to presidential power is completely different from past presidents, compared to only 14% who believe it is in line with precedent. And we're talking about at least 79% of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. So again, you can agree or you can disagree with Donald Trump, but what you can't disagree with is that he's doing things very differently. I have used the Frank Sinatra quote before. He is doing it, quote unquote, my way, and that is what Donald Trump has done throughout both of his presidential terms, and he's certainly doing that, Kate Baldwin, in term number 2.
And you know it's funny because you keep hearing Democrats saying the Republicans are just going along with him. The Republicans, you guys need to do something, stop him. And Trump knows, as he said yesterday with the Los Angeles Dodgers when he when he shook the guy's hand, he goes, "Oh, that's strong arm. That's strong. I'm used to shaking these dudes' hands." These limp-wristed guys on both sides. And you're expecting that, these people like Mitch McConnell and, other limpy Republicans, Langford, you think they're going to stand up to a guy like Donald Trump? You think with all of the cachet that he has, all the power, the political currency, especially today. See, 2 days ago, well, I don't know about these tax, these tariffs and stuff because, my people in my district are losing money, and I'm not really sure if I'm down with this or anything else, and oh, it's green, yeah, it's up. I'm not saying nothing about him. I'm not going to be the one who brings it in and sees this and how we're up 1.7 there and how Tesla is up 3.4% and that gold is up 1.56%. I'm not going to be that guy to step in front of that train. I'm not going to be that gal to step in front of that train. So what Harriet here at CNN is telling you, just like we do, we see it all. We understand, hey man, this guy is rocking. So as bad as the Democrats are doing right now, and their Halloween, kangaroo court shadow government, what do you think the Republicans who are not so happy with Trump are doing? You're sitting on it and hoping that you don't get irritable bowel syndrome because, hey, deal with it. So no, nobody right now in their right mind politically wants to take this guy on. Nor should they. Nor should you get it and impede this. Now, like I said, I don't know where the stock market's going to end up today or tomorrow or the week from now. I mean, it is only 12:38 on the day after he did this. And in fact, it's 12:38. You may see the markets explode. It's 12:38. Do you guys know what the significance of 12:38 is? Let me see. Hey, SV, look around. See if you see the 12:38 special, if it's been dropped. The 12 o'clock special was China had until noon to get their asses in gear. If they didn't get their butt in gear by noon, he was about to... I'm looking to see. Let me check Truth Social, because if China didn't do what they were supposed to do at noon, they were supposed to get spanked. So you guys, I'm doing this show, so I can't tell you what's going on, because who knows if it's been announced. But I can show you this. It says, just announced, Good Tuesday, China's yuan falls to its lowest level against the U.S. dollar since 2023. So don't be panicking. Something is happening. And I can't stop and watch and refresh, but we're going to be interested in to find out if China did what they were supposed to do, because if they didn't, it's going to get ugly for them. So it was noon. They had a deadline. Because now if they didn't man up, then tomorrow morning that hits 100 and something % tariff on China. The only thing that you're going to be able to buy that's probably not going to be reflective with this tariff is probably some General Tso. Enjoy your egg roll and your General Tso chicken. Because, damn, it's 12. I just happened to look down. Maybe that'll be the first thing that Karoline Leavitt talks about when she comes on at 1 o'clock. Hey, tickety tick-tock. Oh, speaking of TikTok, them too. Man, it's so much going on. So much.
Completely differently. Clearly they agree, but take it a step further? Do the people think he has too much? He's taken too much power?
Yeah, this I think is the real question, right? You can believe that he's doing stuff completely differently, but do you think that he has a little too much power or not? And this is interesting. So Trump's presidential power is too much, the right amount, too little. Well, 47% say too much, but then you get 36% who say the right amount, then you get 17% who say too little, so you're essentially dealing with a majority of the American public, 53%, who do not say that Trump has too much power. They either says he has too little power or the right amount of power.
Look, can I interpret that for you, in case some of you guys aren't aware of what's being said here? Democrats are screwed. If 53%, when you put 36 and 17 together, that gives you the 53, which basically is a plurality. It's over the top in terms of Democrats and Republicans and independents. If 53% of the American population say, keep going, Democrats are toast. Because I'm sure President Trump sees this and somebody says, can you verify that? Hey, can you call up Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen? Can you verify this, that data is true? They're not sandbagging me. If that's true, y'all in for a whole lot of hurt. Okay, just let you know, those of you who are watching this show and your friends and family, get the seatbelt strap on. Because if Trump knows that 53% of the American people are okay or want more, that they're not getting tired of, you know what?
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Yeah, I know you're not getting tired of it, but it seems as though 53% of the American population is like, hey, let him cook. Let him go. This looks good to me. Wow. That was this morning. That's this morning. CNN put that report out this morning. It's all over the place. And I got to believe, if I'm a Democrat politician right now, if I understand what it means, maybe people like Cory Booker and Jasmine Crockett don't have any idea what that means. But if I'm at all astute, if I'm politically righteous and understand numbers, I'm done. We're done. He's cooking. He's absolutely cooking.
The idea, that argument that Donald Trump is quote unquote a king, that I don't think holds with the American people. It does hold maybe with 47%, but with the majority of folk, they believe Donald Trump's doing something completely differently, and they don't believe he has too much power, and the executive orders he signed certainly suggest he's no lame duck. He is, as I said at the beginning, a soaring eagle.
That should be framed and played everywhere. It is a soaring eagle. Your libtard network, unless you did this to try and placate him, like I said, if I were Trump, I would be calling people in, hey, Steve Miller, yeah, verify this. Go see if does that jive with your numbers? Call everybody. Is that what you're seeing too? No, Mr. President, it doesn't. Oh, it's higher. Just imagine if CNN's trying to tamp it down. Imagine if Trump's internal polling says, hey man, 60% of America wants you out there kicking butt. 60% of America likes what they see in the alpha male. And real women and real men, which I hate that we have to say these days, but real men and real women and real parents are all like, yeah, get out there and kick some butt. Just keep it going. We love it. We can't get enough. Just keep feeding us. Let us look at, I mean, it's all kinds of crazy in here. And we're seeing this stuff, and it just keeps happening, and it's nuts. So just to let you know what's getting ready to happen, I guess John Strand is late. Might have to do that later, but I don't know how if it might have to be in the night show. So what we're doing today is we've got the press conference, and then after the press conference tonight, President Trump has another event where he's going to be speaking. So hopefully we can catch that during the 7 o'clock show. Let me just show you what the schedule is as of today. I like going to Monica. Monica pretty much keeps it updated so you guys can all see it as it's updated. There's another site out there called Roll Call. SB hit me with another breaking news. I'm going to have to hit that too. All right, so let me just show you what's going on. So we got 10:30. He already did that. 1 o'clock is Karoline Leavitt's deal. Then 3 o'clock he participates in an Unleashing American executive order signing, which they usually don't do live. So what we'll do is, we'll monitor that and then we'll play that at 7. And then at 6:45, we're going to do that speech live. We're going to do the NRCC dinner at the Building Museum. So tonight at 7, or actually I'll probably have to roll it at 6:30. We'll do 6:30 tonight after this show. And in that, I'll also have the executive order delayed tape that they usually do. So we'll make sure we have that. So that being said, what did SB just send me this time? So China wants to get some. China just in. This was 11:05. China says U.S. isn't serious about trade talks and warns intimidation and blackmail aren't going the way to engage. China and the rest of the world are determined to fight a trade war to the end. Okay. You see, like Scott Bassett said, we don't need you. That's what people have to understand. When they see this stuff, if you start seeing people in the media and they start getting concerned because China's pissed off, we don't need them. You want to get into this kind of financial war? That's insane. That is insane. It's absolutely crazy for China to think that they can fight us, especially if they owe that debt. Can you imagine if Trump just decides to, I don't know, cancel the debt? It could get crazy. All right, in any event, I'm going to come back. I got a couple more things to show you before Karoline Leavitt comes in. Let me just check one more time here with the gold pricing. Gold pricing, where are we? That's here. Gold pricing is still over 3,000. At 3,000, it's up 1% today. And as you heard yesterday from Kevin Lear, it is a safe bet. Begin buying gold, and if you can't buy gold, buy some silver. This is 1 ounce, which is probably about $30 today, and this is a tenth of an ounce, which you can probably get for much less. But look at that. Talk to you in a minute. As you know, President Trump has assembled the Avengers to make America great again. And of course, we're all excited and ready to see them get to work. But with everything we're seeing right now, don't take your eye off the ball. Things could get much worse before they get better. With the possibility of World War III still looming, and with the Democrats doing everything they can to impede Trump, you still need to keep your guard up and your money protected. Oh, and our national debt is still massively increasing. Don't get me wrong, I have high hopes for Trump's America, but I also have a family to look out for. You see, Trump and the Avengers have quite the uphill battle ahead. That's why I'm making sure I'm protected, and I'm recommending that you do the same. One way to be protected is by diversifying your portfolio. That's why on this channel I've been happy to partner with Lear Capital. As you know, I've been involved in real estate for quite some time. And although I dabbled in gold and silver, Kevin and his staff at Lear have helped to educate me even further, especially in regards to silver. Give Lear a call today and they'll show you how easy it is to move some of your savings or your retirement account into gold and silver. Gold and silver have been proven to hold value and protect wealth for the long term. Call Lear today at 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com to get your free gold and silver wealth protection guides. There's no obligation, just free information. Many of you have seen my interviews with Lear founder Kevin Demerit, and I can tell you this company is solid and likes to educate their customers. Just so you know, Lear has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and over $3 billion in trusted transactions, and is the only company with a 24-hour risk-free purchase. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. So call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. And when you call, don't forget to ask how you can get up to $15,000 in bonus gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. So if you'd like to take advantage of this opportunity, please call my friends at Lear Capital at 800-601-5430 and tell them Barry sent you. All right, as we're waiting for Karoline Leavitt to come on out, let me talk to you again about the free Trump knives. I say free because if you go ahead and click the QR code that you're seeing on the screen, that QR code right there, you can get this Trump knife from Patriot Addict right there. For normally it retails for like $70, but at this point, I'm doing this and I'm getting breaking news, which I'm going to have to. All right, so anyway, this knife normally retails for $70. You can get it for free. All you have to do is pay the shipping, which is about $13.99. As a celebration to President Trump and our viewers here, Patriot Addict is sending this free Trump red knife to people who voted for Trump. Just scan the QR code or go to berryknife.com. This is just their way of saying thank you for supporting him and being a part of this moment in history. Normally, this knife retails for $70, but right now you can grab it just for the cost of shipping. Scan the QR code to the right or visit berryknife.com to apply your 100% off coupon and claim your Trump knife today before they're all gone. Again, that's berryknife.com or scan the QR code. As I've shown many times without cutting myself, this is a very strong, durable knife. Many of the people here in the chat will attest to it. This thing is not, it is not a light, flimsy knife. It's great for fishing. It's great for probably doing some other things, but I'm not going to talk about that. It's got some sort of blade in here so you can cut a seat belt if you're stuck in an accident or something. It also has this, I don't know what you call it, but it breaks windows, and down here this works. I can't tell you how many people down here drive into canals and get stuck in their car because they can't power down the window. Bam, you have this, you're getting out that car, you're not drowning or getting eaten. Maybe if you break the window, and oh, never mind, that could get kind of scary down here in some of these canals. But in any event, it is a large knife. As I've shown my hands many a times, you can see how big this knife is. And so I'm not going to make any more jokes about that right now. But just go ahead. Trump knife, red Trump knife comes in this great little case, and you can then get it for free just for $13.99. All right, so that being said, we're getting ready for Karoline to come on out, but I'm getting all kinds of dings here from SV. Some of you guys thought that the tariff being raised wasn't until midnight, but no, you were wrong. Bam! President Trump has activated the 50% extra tariff on China as promised. Uh-oh, I'm hearing thunder. That's not a good thing in South Florida. I hope I don't go blip. So let me just tell you right now. Things happen down here. Yes, I got all the surge protection in the world. It doesn't matter in South Florida. I mean, some of you guys who live out in the plain states are like Oklahoma. You know if it's going to go, it's going to go. So I'm hoping everything stays on, but I just heard rolling thunder above me. I don't know if you guys can hear it. But in any event, the total tariff against Chinese products is now 104%. All China had to do was stop. They FA'd, and now they found out. Good luck. 100%. So that means if, you were looking to buy an Apple phone, go get it now. If you're looking to get anything cheap, go get it now. It's going to double in price on you. Sorry. So I guess what we're going to see is Karoline Leavitt is going to have a lot of stuff to talk about in the next couple of minutes. Wow. Let me just show you something else that came up, so you guys have a look at this. This is from Truth Social, and okay, here we go. I just had a great call with acting president of South Korea. We talked about the tremendous and unsustainable surplus, tariffs, shipbuilding, large-scale purchase of U.S. liquid natural gas, their joint venture in an Alaskan pipeline. Ooh, like that. And payment for the big-time military protection we provide to South Korea. They began these military payments during my first term, billions of dollars, but sleepy Joe Biden, for reasons unknown, terminated the deal. That was a shocker to all. In any event, we have the confines and probability of a great deal for both countries. Their top team is right now on a plane heading to the United States, and things are looking good. We are likewise dealing with many other countries, all of whom want to make a deal with the United States. Like with South Korea, we are bringing up other subjects that are not covered by the trade and tariffs and getting them negotiated as well. One-stop shopping is a beautiful and efficient process. China also wants to make a deal, but they don't know how to get it started. We are waiting for their call. It will happen. So interestingly enough, this was posted, as you can see, at 9:08 a.m. It says China wants to make a deal, but they don't know how to make a deal. Well, when you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to pull the trigger, stuff happens. And so right now, China is in a position where you effed around, you waited too long, and now you found out. Wow. I told you it's happening fast. It's happening very, very fast. Gotta love it. So we're about, looks like 3 minutes out from seeing Karoline Leavitt come out. Let's go ahead and take a few comments. Oh, I have one more thing to show you. Where's this? This was something that Mark Levin posted. I found it really interesting. Looks like Judge Boasberger is defying the Supreme Court. If I were at DOJ, I'd immediately file a writ of mandamus with either the appellate court or Scotus to force him to immediately comply. Funny how he's a stickler about his oral order to the Trump administration, but wants to blow off the Supreme Court. The court has said this case is not his, it belongs in Texas. You know what that is? Okay. You smell that? That's utter desperation. Norm Eisen and his whole group and Mark Elias, they thought they had the plan. And the plan just went up in smoke. SCOTUS says, no, you can't do that. Can't do it. All right, so while we're waiting, let's go ahead and take a few comments. Ayo says, I can make my own sweet and sour fried pork. MT says, the Matrix is being exposed, dismantled, and and destroyed. Oh, that is true. I see them getting ready to move to the conference. Oh, let me just say this in advance. So what is going to happen is that I'm going to put on one feed and I'm going to get the other feed ready, and I'm going to go back and forth at the beginning to see which feed has the best sound and video quality. So if you see things changing, that you understand why. As I'm talking to you, SV hit me with something else. What you got for me, SV? Hold on. Let me see. It's on the phone here. China News just dropped China News just dropped the 1,000 Dow gain in half. Yeah, I know that. Knew it was happening. It's all being manipulated. And watch what happens. I'm telling you, buy the dip. Because they're out there trying to do different things, and it ain't working. It ain't working. Let me just see how fast it's dropped that quickly, so I can show it to you. Let me hit refresh, and not bad. Only still up 1 point. I'm telling you, if we're still up 1.1%, we're still in the green. I'm good with that. I am definitely good with that after he just spanked China like the bad people they are. Anyway, I'll bring that up once I'm sure. I don't want to get into it because I may have to switch quickly here, and I don't want to cause any issues with that. So a lot of stuff happening, lots of stuff happening, and it's happening fast, very fast. Donald Trump is wearing me out. People ask me, Barry, you got to get more consistent with your times. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm trying. He doesn't release. It's not like he puts out a schedule a week in advance. He puts it out the morning of. And I always hope, please, nothing, don't make the time so I can make them. And so I showed you his times. And that's in addition to the news he's breaking every minute. This is going to be one hell of a fire press conference. I guarantee you. I don't even know where they're going to start. They're going to start with the Supreme Court. They're going to start with the $9,000 fine. Are they going to start with China? Probably China, because most of them are being paid by China. Probably, asterisk, I don't know, but I probably think that these networks are being paid by China. So China is going to come up over and over and over again. I think I've told you guys many a times. I slept well last night. I slept well the night before. I'm going to sleep well tonight. Why? I don't care about Chinese stuff. Doesn't matter to me. The only people who matter about Chinese stuff are people who are trying to buy Chinese stuff. I'm not in e-commerce anymore. I don't buy anything from China that in terms of that regard. I'm sure, as we've known, everything around here is probably from China. Where's this from? I can't see, the label's too small. But it's probably like Panama or something. Everything you buy, it is so hard to find something that's made in America. When you walk into Walmart or Target or some store, they should just... This is the American stuff. Because everything else in the store is coming from someplace we have no idea. Just imagine, if you could, walking into a Walmart, a Target, and saying, everything in this store is made in America. Wouldn't you love that? I would. I would. I'd absolutely love that. I see Caitlin Collins is up getting her camera crew ready. She's doing a quick hit on CNN. She's doing her thing. So she's going to be up in the front row. China doesn't allow imports into their country unless it's important. Yeah, but we have to get everything from them. Barry, your times are always bringing us the latest and greatest news. Keep doing. I'm trying. Some people complain, but I'm trying to do all this, do 2 shows a day sometimes, and have a life. That's the other thing. Remember, I've told you many times, if this wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it. If it got to the point where it was not fun anymore, it ain't happening. Yeah, that'd be great if we had an American start. Imagine starting a chain at this point. I don't even know what the investment would be. Instead of having like Dollar Store or Dollar General, it was American General. That's an insurance company, but American stuff. And you could go in and buy American stuff. If you need sponges or all the different things you go to the dollar store for. When Robin goes into the dollar store, she'll go in, she'll buy sponges and soap and dish detergent and all that kind of stuff. And what if all that was made in America? I don't know where do they make soap? You gotta love the soap that they sell at Whole Foods. That what they call artisan soap. I gotta love that. Trump announced spend $1 trillion on building up the U.S. military. Yep. Barrett used to be that way. Sam Walton refused to sell anything that wasn't made in the USA. Yep, it's only happened in a few decades. That's all it took. And all of a sudden everything was upside down. And now everybody is dependent upon China. I don't understand how Americans don't realize it. If you want, even people on the left, think about this. If you want the so-called living wage, and you think people should be paid a living wage for working, well, buy American stuff. If you were paying, I don't know, 60% more for this and that, yeah, it's going to hurt like hell to some people at the beginning because they've gotten used to paying for shit. You've gotten used to buying this from, it's from Vietnam or Paraguay or, Cambodia. We got used to it. We got fat and lazy. We didn't even think to ourselves what we were doing to the country was like, hey man, should we be doing this? We should be doing this because eventually it's going to catch up to us. And when it does, it's going to be a shock to the system. And you just saw that happen yesterday. And you're watching it happen right now. And we have a president who's like, we're done with this. We are no longer going to conduct business in this manner. I know it hurts, but just think how good it's going to be. Y'all want that living wage, right? Oh yeah, you still want that? Well, companies will be able to afford it if they were buying American stuff. Because people would be working. It'd be more prosperous. You can't have one without the other. How about we cut a deal? You can get that living wage, and we'll get that to you in 5 or 6 years once we open factories again and start doing stuff. But I'm telling you, and I've told you this many, many times, and I'm going to say it again right now. I don't know if you're in the stock market or you're planning to get in the stock market or anything of that nature. But one of the things you might want to start doing is really, really looking at chips, AI, robotics. That's where the money's headed. Just saying. There ain't going to be a whole lot of money in textiles. It's hard. Bear, I can't get enough of President Trump making all the world know the USA no longer being screwed over from any foreign countries or governments. Yeah. Karoline is 5 or 6 minutes late right now, which you probably have to account for because the news just dropping. Imagine that. That's big news. Back in the 50s, see, this is something that a lot of people don't know. They're not old enough. Back in the 50s, 70s, everything was made in Japan. What the heck was that? Oh, wow. Must be the humidity expanding in here because the pop. I have a bowl of cantaloupe sitting there, and it just popped right off. I'm like, what the heck was that? So that means the stormy stuff is coming. Wow, yeah. It's immoral and very selfish to subsidize slavery just to have cheaper products, which is what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing for quite so long. Let's see here. I went to Elise's Chicken. Where is that? I went to Elise's Chicken yesterday, and at the drive-thru, the person that took my order was AI and not a person. It was the best order I've ever given. That's too funny. As we're waiting for Karoline Leavitt to show up, and she's not here yet. Yeah, you heard that. Weather bowl. Yeah, I mean, literally, it just went poof and just blew off the top of the cantaloupe. It was scared me because I know there's nobody else in here. And I was like, is there a ghost or something opening the cantaloupe? That's crazy. Utz potato chips are made in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Yep. Nothing was worse than the 2008 crash. It's the Democrat demons that popped. The Cantaloupe weather station. I thought it was the dog getting into something, but I know he doesn't ever bother cantaloupes or anything like that, so that was crazy. Let's see here. The bowl must have been made in China. See, you're probably right. You're probably right. Here, let me show it to you so you don't think I'm making it up. It's one of these. They sell these at the grocery store, and that's all the cantaloupe, and it's got that Tupperwarean type of thing, and it just popped right off. I think what I need to do is get a refrigerator for in here, but I have an electrician coming because I got to get more power. I need to rewire it up in here. Let's see here. I had a friend. What's that? I had a friend pulled over by the cops. A bottle of pop exploded, causing they drew their guns. Oh my goodness, that's scary. Do robots mow lawns? I bet you we're not too far away from that. I bet you within the next 5 years we may have that happening. That's crazy. Love Utz grew up there. Janelle Smithfield is made in America. Awfully cold here in Ontario, Canada. It's still cold, huh? Zero. Let's see here. Oh, she has arrived.
The top today. On April 14th, President Trump will welcome President Bukele of El Salvador for an official working visit here at the White House. They will discuss El Salvador's partnership on using their Supermax prison for Tren de Aragua and MS-13 gang members, and how El Salvador's cooperation with the United States has become a model for others to work with this administration. On April 17th, President Trump will welcome Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of Italy for an official working visit at the White House as well. The president's thoughts also remain with the families and communities experiencing devastating loss from the severe storms and flooding affected several states across the central U.S. President Trump approved emergency declarations for Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee, allowing FEMA to provide federal assistance like equipment and resources to support state and local emergency response officials who are leading this response on the ground. Last night, the Supreme Court delivered a massive legal victory to the Trump administration and allowed us to continue removing foreign terrorist invaders under the Alien Enemies Act. This was a smackdown to a rogue left-wing, low-level district court judge who have relentlessly tried to stop President Trump from using his branch and as commander-in-chief. The highest court in the land made it clear that the President of the United States has the power to protect our homeland and forcibly remove foreign terrorists who pose a grave threat to families and communities. Thank you to the Supreme Court for upholding the rule of law and protecting the Constitution. Our message to the monster Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists still hiding illegally inside our country is clear. Deport yourself now, or you will be locked up and sent back to your home country. On another matter, the historic Liberation Day announcement last week by President Trump made it very clear that the era of American economic surrender is over. President Trump is no longer going to allow American workers and companies to be ripped off at the hands of foolish trade practices that shipped away millions of high-paying jobs and hollowed out communities across the country. It's America first, all the way. And despite fear-mongering by the media, the world is clearly responding to President Trump's approach. Just yesterday, President Trump held a bilateral meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here at the White House. The Prime Minister pledged to immediately eliminate America's trade deficit with Israel and remove their trade barriers. Israel's proactive approach should serve as a model for the rest of the world. Also yesterday, the President spoke with Japan's Prime Minister, who wants to negotiate as well. The President also spoke to the acting President of South Korea this morning. He has tasked Secretary Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer to lead these talks. In total, since the Liberation Day announcement, nearly 70 countries have already reached out to the President to begin a negotiation. Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country. Why? Because these countries greatly respect President Trump in the sheer power of the American market. These countries realize they've gotten filthy rich over the past few decades by imposing substantial tariffs on American-made products and ridiculous non-monetary barriers to block out American industry. The jig is up. Past American presidents sat by and let this happen, but President Trump stood up for our country, and he is saying no more. The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. America does not need other countries as much as other countries need us, and President Trump knows this. He's going to use the leverage of our markets and our country to the advantage of the people he was sworn in to represent. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership. He is guided by a firm belief that America must be able to produce essential goods for our own people and export them to the rest of the world. A strong America cannot be solely dependent on foreign countries for our food, medicines, and critical minerals. And America must always maintain a robust defense supply chain. Reprioritizing and strengthening our manufacturing industry are essential national and economic security issues of the utmost importance to President Trump. By focusing on supercharging the onshoring of American manufacturing, the president is already delivering on his promise to usher in an economic golden age for our country. Just look at Friday's jobs report, which smashed expectations for the second straight month. The American economy added 228,000 jobs, nearly 100,000 more jobs than economists predicted, and the fourth highest month for private payroll growth in the past 2 years. There was also a sharp increase in transportation, construction, and warehousing employment. And in just 11 weeks, President Trump has secured more than $1.5 trillion in private sector investment. This is $500 billion more than Joe Biden secured in his entire term. This record-breaking private sector investment will create roughly 350,000 American jobs and counting. If you add up all of the investment pledges from foreign governments, President Trump has secured an incredible $5 trillion in total investments already. In the months ahead, President Trump's pro-growth economic agenda will be fully realized. The largest deregulatory effort in American history is underway. Unnecessary, burdensome, costly red tape is being eliminated by this entire federal government every day, driving down costs and massively boosting small businesses. So far, President Trump's deregulation effort has already saved Americans more than $180 billion, equivalent to $2,100 per family of 4. The president's drill baby drill energy agenda, which he will discuss later this evening in the East Room, is capitalizing on the abundance of natural resources under our feet to generate more affordable electricity, cheap gas, and quality new jobs. All of this will combine to end the Biden-imposed cost of living crisis that's absolutely crushed American families. Under President Trump, the American energy industry will lead the globe over the next century, delivering lower prices and significantly strengthening our country's economic position. At the president's direction, Republicans in Congress are working quickly to pass one big, beautiful bill, which will also include the largest tax cut in American history. As President Trump has said, the House must pass this budget resolution quickly. Here in our new media seat today, we have Jasmine Wright, the White House reporter for Notice. Notice is a nonprofit and nonpartisan news site which launched in early 2024. They've gained millions of readers across the country since. Newsroom's goal is both to inform readers and train the next generation of politics and policy journalists. They also partner with state newsrooms and to give local communities more knowledge of what their representatives are doing in Washington, D.C. With that, please kick us off, Jasmine.
Thanks so much, Karoline. A couple questions for you. The first one being, can you explain the White House's evolution from this is not a negotiation on tariffs to countries should pitch us and start negotiations on tariffs?
As the president said yesterday, Jasmine, both things can be true at the same time. And it is a non-negotiable position that the United States has faced a national security and economic crisis because of the unfair trade practices by countries around the world. As for the president, I have maintained this position. The entire administration has always said that President Trump is willing to pick up the phone and talk. And the president met with his trade team this morning, and he directed them to have tailor-made trade deals with each and every country that calls up this administration to strike a deal and listen. And each and every one of these trade deals should be tailored and unique based on that country's markets, based on that country's exports, the imports here in the United States of America. What makes the most sense for the American worker and for our industry? The president is focused on putting America first.
So was the evolution not factored in or determined by kind of the tumult in the stock market? Was that not a part of the consideration to start making these negotiations and deals?
Again, I would reject that there was an evolution. On day one, we had said that the president will always pick up the phone for other nations and other companies that call this administration. The president always has a listening ear, and it's a non-negotiable fact that America has faced a national security and economic crisis for many decades, and President Trump is just the first to address this.
And then my last question, how will negotiations change how much revenue the White House is planning to make from the tariffs?
Well, that has yet to be seen, but as the president said, the reciprocal tariffs, which will continue to go in effect as these deals are negotiated and ongoing, will generate trillions of dollars in revenue to the United States. And this is twofold. The president wants to onshore jobs here to the United States of America. He wants to boost our manufacturing industry. He also wants to tackle these crippling deficits with almost every single country around the world. Jackie.
Thanks, Caroline. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, warned that some of these negotiations might take up to months, that we could be doing this through April, May, and into June. And then you had Kevin Hassett say it's going to take a lot for the president to put his signature on the line because he wants to make sure there's a good deal for America. Is the president operating on any sort of a timeline or deadline where he wants this completed by?
Well, we always move at Trump speed here at the White House, which is incredibly fast. I know you all know that from covering this White House day to day. The president likes to get things done, but he's very much focused on ensuring that these deals are good for the American worker. They are good for American manufacturing, and again, that they tackle these crippling deficits with these countries. All options are on the table for each country, but again, these are going to be tailor-made deals. They are not going to be off-the-rack deals, as the president has called it, and he has directed his entire trade team to be part of this effort. So that includes Secretary Bessent and our National Economic Director, Kevin Hassett. It also includes Secretary Lutnick, Peter Navarro, the entire trade team, Jamison Greer, who was on the Hill today. Everybody who was involved in this incredible, fair, reciprocal trade agenda will continue to be involved in negotiating these deals.
And then yesterday, Goldman Sachs put out a research note. It put the odds of a recession at 45% within the next 12 months, up from 35%. But Peter Navarro guaranteed last night no recession. Does the president agree with him on that? I know the president in the past has been leery of making definitive statements on that.
I can speak for the president, and I can speak for the optimism that he sees in our economy every day. Again, when you talk about the massive deregulatory efforts that are happening across the board, when you talk about how oil prices are down, gas prices are down, egg prices are down, we're cutting costs for the American worker, for the American consumer. We also see trillions of dollars of investments pouring into this country every day, and we're working hard now on the tariff side of the president's economic agenda. But don't forget, the next side of this is tax cuts, and we're counting on Capitol Hill to get those done, the largest tax cuts in history.
Does that mean that without those tax cuts coming through, that the likelihood of a recession is greater?
No, that's not what I said. I'm just saying be mindful of the whole of government economic approach that this administration is taking every day. Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. You just said that one of the reasons these tariffs are going into effect is that some countries have been ripping off the United States, but some of the tariffs target countries like Madagascar, Bangladesh, with very high levels of poverty. So can you explain how the president wants to correct the deficit with those countries? Is there a plan, for example, to onshore the textile industry that these countries are known because, and, just like, can you be specific about those like low income?
Sure. Well, first of all, the reciprocal tariff rates that were implemented by country were focused on the monetary tariff that those countries have imposed on the United States, but also the non-monetary tariff barriers and the regulations, if you will, that have been put into effect over the years, making it harder for America to export to these countries. These were very carefully crafted numbers. There was also a 10% baseline tariff across the board, as well, as you know. Moving forward, the president will talk to any country that picks up the phone to call, and I can tell you the phones have been ringing off the hook, wanting to talk to this administration, this president, and his trade team to try to strike a deal. And it's because the world knows that they need the United States of America. They need our markets. They need our consumer. The president has a lot of leverage on his side because he has the best economy and the best country in the world that he leads, and he knows that. And it's about dang time we finally have a president who uses that economic leverage to benefit American workers. And that's what the president is trying to do. Maggie.
Caroline, thanks. Does the president endorse something that Howard Lutnick said on television this weekend, which was that the army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones, that kind of thing is going to be moving to the U.S.? Is that how the president envisions manufacturing shifting? And if so, how long would that take, roughly?
The president wants to increase manufacturing jobs here in the United States of America, but he's also looking at advanced technologies. He's also looking at AI and emerging fields that are growing around the world that the United States needs to be a leader in as well. So there's an array of diverse jobs, more traditional manufacturing jobs, as you discussed, but also jobs in advanced technologies. The president is looking at all of those. He wants them to come back home.
But iPhones specifically, is that something that he thinks is the kind of technology that can move to the U.S.?
Absolutely. He believes we have the labor, we have the workforce, we have the resources to do it. And as you know, Apple has invested $500 billion here in the United States. So if Apple didn't think the United States could do it, they probably wouldn't have put up that big chunk of change. Elena.
Hi, Caroline. It's clear the president has gotten the world's attention with these tariffs. Is he considering at all potentially holding off on imposing some of them before the deadline, or maybe later, reversing them because he's having these negotiations and having these good talks with other leaders?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. He said he's not considering an extension or a delay. I spoke to him before this briefing. That was not his mindset. He expects that these tariffs are going to go into effect. And you said something very important, Elena, in your question. You said the president has captivated the attention of the world. Absolutely, he has. And it's about time we have a president in the Oval Office who is putting the world on notice and is putting the American people first, and again, is using the leverage of the United States to negotiate good trade deals.
Just a quick follow-up. There's been some public sparring between Elon Musk and the president's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, on some of these tariffs. Musk actually referred to Navarro today as being, quote, dumber than a sack of bricks. Are you at all, or is the administration, the president, all concerned that this is maybe impacting the public's understanding of these tariffs? It might be messing with the message on it?
No, look, these are obviously two individuals who have very different views on trade and on tariffs. Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful that we have the most transparent administration in history. And I think it also speaks to the president's willingness to hear from all sides, that he has people at the highest levels of this government in this White House who have very diverse opinions on very diverse issues, but the president takes all opinions in mind, and then he makes the best decision based on the best interests of the American public. Deanna.
Thanks, Caroline. On Truth Social today, Trump was talking about one-stop shopping talks with foreign leaders, bringing leaders to the U.S., to Washington, and talking to them about tariffs, but also other topics. So is that part of his strategy to bring the leaders to Washington and trying to get deals, outside of tariffs on foreign policy issues as well?
I think the president, again, is going to have a custom, tailor-made approach to each and every country. And if that means discussions of foreign aid, of our military presence in these countries, how those troops are paid for, come to the table, that could be part of the negotiation in these economic negotiations. But it's the president's economic team who will be leading these. These are tariff and trade negotiations. And yes, they will be one-stop shopping for each and every country. They will be, as the president said again, tailor-made, not off the rack to each and every country based on America's needs.
And can you confirm?
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much, Kara from Lynn's LTV. So President Trump has designated Tren Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization and deported its members while also moving to restrict Venezuela's oil exports. Is the administration preparing additional military or economic actions against Venezuela and the Maduro regime? And my second question is about Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Is the administration have a comment on her decision to go with the liberals and go actually with the Tren Araguas? This is the same justice that actually sided against January 6th hostages last year. So is the administration have a comment? Are they disappointed in Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett?
To your first question, I don't have any actions to read out in terms of Venezuela. The president has imposed secondary tariffs on the Maduro regime and on Venezuela in the form of oil, which is obviously going to have a crippling effect on the Maduro regime, and that's the intended effect of this administration. As for the justice you mentioned, as for the Supreme Court, we've made our feelings very clear. We believe this was a massive victory. Certainly, we wish this was a 9-0 decision because we firmly believe that the president was well within his constitutional authority, and the Supreme Court made that very clear last night, and they put Judge Boasberg in his place. We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these judges who are acting as judicial activists, not real arbiters of the truth and the law, and that's exactly what we saw the Supreme Court do yesterday. Christian.
Thanks, Caroline. Now that the president's reciprocal tariffs are here, going into effect tomorrow, what's the status of the ERS? When will they actually start collecting revenue? And will that be nested under CBP or somewhere else entirely?
It's something Secretary Lutnick has taken up, so I defer you to the Department of Commerce, but it's something that he and the president believe quite strongly in, and it's a promise that they intend to keep to the American people.
Real quickly, can you explain why the president opted to send Secretary Hegseth to the dignified transfer last week instead of attending himself?
Sure. The Secretary Hegseth was there to represent the administration. The president has expressed his condolences to these families, as have I from this podium. Shelby.
Thank you. The president's trade representative this morning told senators that the president does not intend on carving out exemptions for products and companies when it comes to tariffs. But would the administration consider changing that stance should bankruptcies begin among U.S. companies who are dependent on China trade?
I won't get ahead of the president on any exemptions or his decision on that. I will leave that to him. But again, we're looking at this country by country and based on the needs of the American people and the American workforce.
And one more, can you walk us through how this specific tariff plan was decided on and which advisor came up with it?
The reciprocal tariff plan? It was a plan that was discussed by the president's entire trade team over the course of many, many meetings, and the president ultimately decided on which way to go. A few proposals were given to the president. There was debate and discussion, and the president made his decision. And as you've seen very publicly, the entire trade team is on board with this plan and the negotiations that will ensue because of it. Sure.
Karoline, on Iran, given what's going to be happening on Saturday, what exactly is the current administration doing to stop Iran's funding of terrorist aggression worldwide that the previous administration wasn't doing?
Well, first of all, when it comes to Saturday, I won't get ahead of the president. He has said there will be direct talks with Iran on Saturday. I won't further any details from this podium for obvious reasons, security reasons. It will, provide an update as we always have. However, when it comes to Iran, the president has reimposed crippling sanctions on the Iranian regime, and he's made it very clear to Iran they have a choice to make. You can strike a deal with the president, you can negotiate, or there will be hell to pay. And as the president said yesterday, if they don't choose to move forward with diplomacy and a deal, which is the direction we do see them headed in, there will be grave consequences to pay.
The back row.
Thank you, Caroline. On the president's threat yesterday on social media to increase tariffs against China by an additional 50% in response to their retaliation, has he signed anything in terms of an executive order, any documentation around that? Will that additional 50% go into effect tomorrow?
They will be going into effect at 12:01 a.m. tonight, so effectively tomorrow, yes.
Work on that today?
Of course, as always. To the gentleman in front of you, because that's who I originally called on. Go ahead.
Over the weekend, President Trump said that he would be willing to have U.S. citizens deported to El Salvador with the cooperation of President Bukele. How would that work legally, and how many people would potentially be available for that operation?
So the president has discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly. And these are violent, repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said, if it's legal, right? If there is a legal pathway to do that, he's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of transparency. Reagan.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been more reporting coming out now about President Biden's decline while in the White House. Is the White House considering releasing the audio of Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur to the public, which the former president had previously blocked?
I don't have an update on that, but I can certainly check. I think the American people would be quite interested to hear that tape, but I'll double check on the release of it. Thank you. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. On Saturday, during meetings with Iran, President Trump says high-level officials will be meeting directly with Iranian officials. We're hearing some pushback from Iran now saying those talks will be indirect. Can you clarify?
They will be direct talks on Saturday, and I won't get ahead of the president on any further details. Jennifer.
Yeah, two things. On the Israel tariffs, can you give us an update on the discussion on relaxing those tariffs? And then I had another question about the Doge team after that.
That discussion is ongoing. I don't have any definitive details to iron out for you here.
And then the president on Thursday told us that there was an incredible discovery that the Doge team had made. He called it horrible and incredible. Can you reveal that yet? Give us details on what it was about?
There has been a discovery. I hate to leave you hanging on a cliff, but I don't want to get ahead of the president on that. But I can confirm there has been a discovery. It's just not quite yet ready for release. Go ahead.
Caroline, thank you.
I was calling on the young lady behind you, but I'll come to you after, Ed. All right. Not discriminating here.
The president is meeting today with House Republicans. Can you say who is in that meeting and his message to Republicans that are skeptical of the Senate-passed budget framework?
Sure. The president will be meeting with Republican lawmakers today here at the White House to talk to them about the framework that the Senate passed. The president was very quick to put out a statement about his support for the reconciliation package that the Senate passed, and he is counting on House Republicans to pass it. The Republicans received an overwhelming mandate from the American public to govern. We have an extraordinary opportunity. There are key promises that the president made to the American people in this bill. Tax cuts, securing the border, deregulation, unleashing the might of American energy. These are good things for the American people. The president wants to see this get done, and that's why he's engaging with lawmakers today.
Just a quick follow-up on tariffs. Kevin Hassett said today that the administration is prioritizing talks with Japan and South Korea, other trading partners. Are there other countries on that list that you guys can name publicly that you're having serious discussions with?
Sure. As you have heard from various administration officials, myself included, there have been nearly 70 countries that have reached out to the administration last time I checked. But again, I hear the phones are ringing off the hook. There are foreign leaders who want to fly to Washington tonight and get on a plane to negotiate with this country, which shows you the leverage that the president is using. It shows you the rest of the world needs the United States of America to do business with. Israel, obviously, yesterday, you heard a public statement from Prime Minister Netanyahu. The president has detailed his calls with the leaders of Japan, in South Korea. We are going to prioritize our allies and our partners around the world first when it comes to these negotiations, and the trade team will be divvying them up again to make tailor-made trade deals around the world. Ed, go ahead. As promised.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned the 70 countries or so. I'm curious, though, under what conditions at this point would President Trump talk to President Xi about tariffs?
Look, I just spoke to the president about this, and he believes that China wants to make a deal with the United States. He believes China has to make a deal with the United States. It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight. But the president believes that Xi and China want to make a deal. They just don't know how to get that started. And the president also wanted me to tell all of you that if China reaches out to make a deal, he'll be incredibly gracious, but he's going to do what's best for the American people.
So China has to call first?
The Chinese want to make a deal. They just don't know how to do it. But the president will be implementing these 104% tariffs on China tonight.
And under what conditions might he consider lowering tariffs on China at this point?
It would be imprudent of me to tell you those conditions here from the podium. Sure, Gabe.
Thanks, Caroline. With regards to the Supreme Court ruling on the Alien Enemies Act, you're right, it was a win for the administration, but the justices also said that deportees are entitled to due process. Does the administration agree with that?
That's not quite true, Gabe. They said that they are entitled to a habeas petition, and we are going to continue to comply with the law, and we are wholly confident that every single person that has been deported under the Alien Enemies Act, every person that will continue to be deported under the Alien Enemies Act qualifies for that deportation.
NBC News is reporting that the administration is considering drone strikes on drug cartels in Mexico. We're citing several officials. This morning, Mexico's president was asked about that, and she said that we reject any of those actions. Your response?
I saw that reporting. I don't want to confirm it from this podium. I don't want to comment on it because I'm not sure, but I would defer you to the National Security Council.
So you haven't confirmed the report, but with Mexico's president saying that she rejects any of that, what would your response be? How is the relationship then between Mexico's president and the White House right now over targeting drug cartels?
Well, first of all, the relationship between President Sheinbaum and President Trump is quite good, and I think both world leaders would tell you that. The president has been engaged directly with President Sheinbaum on a number of different topics, particularly when it comes to clamping down on the Mexican drug cartels, on clamping down on illegal immigration, human trafficking, drug trafficking through our southern border. She's taken significant steps towards doing that, but as for that specific report, again, I'm not going to comment.
Caroline, two questions on trade. First, as a part of these negotiations, is it possible for countries to lower their tariffs below that 10% bare minimum that's been set?
Again, I'll leave that to the president to make those determinations, but I can tell you that 10% universal baseline will go into effect as these negotiations are ongoing.
Got it. And then what is your thinking just as far as low labor cost countries? Like if you've got a country like Vietnam that wants to negotiate, but obviously they have some advantages in terms of trade, in terms of the people there are not paid as much as American citizens. What is kind of the thinking? Can they still achieve a good kind of trade outcome with the United States?
Well, again, you're right to point out that different countries have different labor markets. They have different skills, if you will, different resources, and the president is going to take all of that into account. His team will take all of that into account when they're negotiating these deals. I do just want to point out one thing, that the president, everybody in Washington, whether they want to admit it or not, knows that this president is right when it comes to tariffs and when it comes to trade. In fact, Democrats have long said that the United States of America has been ripped off off by the countries around the world. They just don't want to admit it now because it's President Trump who is saying that. In June of 1996, Nancy Pelosi spoke on the House floor. She urged her colleagues at the time to fight against the status quo trade policies that had contributed to America's trade deficit with China. In fact, Nancy Pelosi said, "How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit? How many jobs have to be lost for the American workers? How much dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, 'I will not endorse the status quo'?" Those are the words of Nancy Pelosi in 1996. Well, President Trump is finally answering her call 27 years later. Nancy Pelosi can thank President Trump today for the 104% retaliatory tariff that will be going into effect on China. In 2007, Chuck Schumer spoke of our nation's crippling trade deficit, saying, "These are the kinds of records the American people don't want us to be breaking. The administration needs to move beyond words, take action now to reverse a trend that threatens our prospects for future economic growth." And Chuck Schumer said that in 2007. Finally, in 2025, President Trump is taking action. Recently defeated Democrat Sherrod Brown said on deficits in 2012 that our deficit then at China had reached an all-time high, and it was on pace to recede last year's record. The trade deficit had cost American workers millions of jobs at the time. These are the words of Democrats years ago. It is about time America finally has a president who is taking action to restore those millions of jobs back to the United States of America, to boost our manufacturing industry. He's doing what's right for the American people. It will take a lot of labor. It will take a lot of effort. But that's exactly what the American people elected this president to do. He will be talking about our energy agenda at 3 o'clock today over in the East Room. As you all know, he will be signing a bill to unleash the might of our beautiful, clean coal industry in this country, which is a reliable energy source also for AI. There's a great story in Bloomberg today, actually, about the executive order that will be signed later. So we'll see you all there. I'll let the president speak more. We'll see you later. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well, when she talks, man, she just like lays it out and I'm out. That's it. You got 40, 45 minutes. Actually, she only spoke for about 35 or 36 minutes. And many of you noticed that the decorum in the room from the people in the press were a lot different for whatever reason today. A lot different. They seemed to be a little bit more subdued, as though they realized at this point they're not winning anymore. They're not going to keep winning. As much as the press wants to keep trying, let me just show you, because immediately things kind of like pooped the bed after the China announcement. This is the Dow Jones. You can see, okay, so look what happened. Uh-oh, might want to watch this. All right, so it went down, and anytime I see a vertical spike, not a gradual, but a vertical, we might want to keep an eye on that. Let me just refresh. Oh, something's happening. You guys seeing this, right? An absolute vertical spike. It spiked when I refreshed. Okay, so it's 336.66. Okay, so it's nearly straight up. Well, I'll monitor that. Maybe you can monitor it too, because it's very seldom that you see a specific vertical spike the way it's doing right now. Let's look at gold at the same time while we're here. And gold is basically dropped quite a bit, as from what I understand, what people are saying is China is dumping gold. There's so much stuff going on right now. So much manipulation, so much different moves that are happening. And everyone is basically responding and acting to these moves. Watching the Dow do the different things that it's doing right now, and every time I refresh, this is a good one. People bought that dip hard. Every time I keep refreshing, we're up to 363 now, 372. You seeing this? I don't know if something happened that while we were talking or while she was talking, but boom, it's starting to go back up. So in any event, it may fall again. But what we're seeing in no uncertain terms, you can see it and watch it yourself, even if you aren't investing in it. And remember, the Dow Jones isn't relative to the economy, but it's the media talking point. Everyone thought this was going to fall apart. So now he's made the announcement. He has said, I am putting on 104% tariff on China. Tonight at midnight, it goes in. He's already announced it. So whatever damage, maybe there's people moving, people profit taking, whatever it is, something is happening right now in the stock market. It just keeps going up. Every time I refresh, it keeps going up. Now it's plus 428. I refresh again, and now it's dropped down to 4. Refresh again, let's see what happens. But anyway, you can sit there all day and watch this stuff. It kind of mesmerizes me. I don't know, not like you. So anyway, she did well. She came out. She took care of business. She made these people understand, here's what's going to happen. Here's how it's going to happen. And that's it. And in the meantime, I did see something I wanted to share with you. Elon Musk went after Chuck Schumer pretty hard. Here it says Chuck Schumer wrote something and said Trump has unleashed chaos in America. His tariffs hit families with the largest tax hike in more than 50 years. BS. Doge is sabotaging Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. The market is having its worst 3 days since COVID. Any congressional Republicans are go along with this. It's all so they can cut tax cuts for billionaires. They got nothing. The whole thing is a lie. And unfortunately for Chucky, Elon hit him. Chuck, I'm starting to think you're getting a piece of the action with government fraud. But no, that couldn't possibly be the reason, could it? Ooh, what does Elon know? Remember President Trump said, I've got something to tell you. Hang on. It came up today in this press conference. Hey, is President Trump going to release what it is he found? Not yet. I'll let him tell you. And then you see this. I'm starting to think you're getting a piece of the action with government fraud. But no, that couldn't possibly be the reason, could it? OMG. Imagine what they know that they're not talking about. This could be crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let's see what Ashley says on me. 150. All right. So I told you I had an interview with a J6er scheduled to come on before Karoline. He couldn't make it, but he's coming on in 3 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this interview with this man from January 6th who had a horrible experience, as many of the people in January 6th did. So we're going to do this interview. Then after the interview, President Trump is supposed to do something at 2:30. So I'm just going to leave, some music on. Maybe we'll go to the after party, but I don't disconnect, and we'll see if he comes back on at 2:30 while the after party is playing. And then if he doesn't, I'll be live again at 6:30 for his speech tonight at the dinner, and we'll take it from there. So looking down here, checking stuff. All right, so that was said earlier by Elon Musk. Thought that was pretty big. I don't know. I'm looking to see if anyone's talking stuff about what's going on with China. So the Panama Canal thing that you saw, the headline, that's huge. Pete Hegseth is down at the Panama Canal, and Pete Hegseth is walking through the Panama Canal. I can just show you this video. It literally just came out. Let me see if I can download this. I can. Nope, can't. It's got copyrighted music playing behind it, so I can't do that. But I can show it to you. And there's Pete Hegseth, and he's strolling through the Panama Canal at this point. But he did do some speaking earlier, and he said, as I showed, we're taking it back. We are taking it back. This is Pete walking with a lot of Department of Defense officials. And I can't show you that speech because they still have music. Let me just think. Yeah, for some reason they put music behind it. I don't know why they put music behind it. Maybe try to get people in trouble or whatever. But anyway, let's see what Benny just said something as well. Let me try reloading this. Huh. it's gone. But anyway, Benny posted this. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth sends direct message to China from the Panama Canal. I want to be very clear. China did not build this canal. China does not operate this canal. And China will not weaponize this canal. So there's a lot going on with China right now. A whole lot going on with China. Not sure where that ends up, but it's obviously going to be absolutely crazy. Uh-oh. This is interesting. No, I won't put it up there because I can't verify the source. If I can't verify the source, I won't post anything for you because I don't. There's so many people out there that talk a lot of crap. But in any event, that's what I have. Waiting for this. Waiting for John to show up here. Let me take a few comments. Let's see here. The Magapan Canal. My warrior brother Pete, buy precious metals while you can. Yeah. I'm fully endorsing of that. Elon knows what's going on with Chuck. I can't wait to see what President Trump will come out with. Can you imagine? Can you even imagine if they find out that Chuck's been dipping his hand in it? Markets have been artificially inflated for quite some time. I completely agree with that. President Trump is not scared of China. That's what we're seeing. That's definitely what we're seeing. That they're not getting what they hope for, and he's basically kicking butt and taking names. I mean, I know many of you aren't in the stock market, but it's relative to what you may think. So it's still in the green. It's moving back and forth and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But the fact that it's out there now, so whatever was going to happen is now going to take place at midnight tonight, and that's going to be it. So I'm going to take a quick break, then I'll be on with John Strand.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right. So I've got John Strand. Let me show you his contact information. It's at johnstrand.com is his website. His X profile is John Strand at John Strand USA, the official X account of John Strand, J6 political prisoner, vindicated by the Supreme Court. Got to ask him about that. He also has written a book called Patriot Plea. So I'd like you to welcome John Strand. John, can you hear me?
I sure can, Barry, and thank you so much for having me on today. It's an honor.
Thank you. I'm glad you could come back on because I didn't know how long it was going to be before Karoline jumped on, but glad you could make it. So please tell everybody what happened to you. I've interviewed quite a few January 6ers on you, but your story seems a little bit different because some of the people I've talked to, they got probation. Some of them have gotten pardoned. What happened? Obviously, we know what happened to you. You were at the January 6th event, but tell us what happened in terms of the journey from going to getting arrested or indicted and put in jail. What happened to you?
Absolutely, Barry. It was a pretty unusual version of that story. My background, I'm from Los Angeles, California. I've worked for many years in LA and New York as a model and actor and in the creative space. But during the COVID chaos, I started taking a step forward in advocacy for civil rights. I became the creative director at America's Frontline Doctors and GoldCare.com, a medical freedom platform. And I've been doing that work for the last 4 to 5 years. Because of that work, I was in Washington, D.C., not technically to join the protest. I was scheduled to be there as part of a group that was going to be speaking at an event with a government-approved permit alongside of numerous Congress people. So my professional background and my current professional reason for being in Washington, D.C. was pretty unusual, quite different from most of the J6 examples that you might have come across. Another thing that's interesting about my story is because I completely understood from the beginning that it was a false flag event, that it was, it was set up in advance and then executed the day of by various elements of corrupt government involvement. And that became very clear in the 48 hours following the event itself. Because I knew that, I knew, number one, that I was not guilty. I was an innocent bystander caught up in something terrible. And I also understood that it was about a lot more just if I was innocent or guilty. There was much more going on. So I was violently raided by the FBI without warning. My front door was pulverized by a battering ram. I was assaulted by 20 armed officers in tactical gear in a military takedown. It felt like a scene out of a Jason Bourne action movie nightmare. It was incredibly traumatic. It was terrible. And from then, the hell just continued faster and faster for the next 4 years. I was disappeared for 4 days without a phone call after that raid. That was wildly illegal. Eventually, I was rescued by my family and then set on a course to fight the DOJ for several years. They tried to give me a golden parachute plea deal after informing me that I was being charged with a felony and 4 misdemeanors that equated to 23 potential years of prison.
Wow.
So that sledgehammer was, wielded against me with the intent to coerce me into accepting a plea deal. And in my case, they were going to give me a single misdemeanor, which is just incredibly disparate from a 20-year felony and so forth. So the assumption was that I was going to take that. And most J6ers did take plea deals. There are over 1,500 cases.
Right.
And the majority of them involved plea agreements. But the problem, aside from the fact that I was an innocent person, I committed no crime, and aside from the fact that the government was involved in this, the plea deal was full of lies and distorted information that was all intentionally part of a plan to create a narrative.
Wow.
So I fought against that narrative, knowing that I would go to prison for it. I went to trial, was convicted as obviously predicted in DC, was sent to prison for almost 3 years, but...
Wait. You actually went to jail for 3 years?
I went to a U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons incarceration facility, a U.S. prison, and was supposed to be there for almost 3 years before then dealing with whatever else would follow. But because I didn't take that plea, because I stood on principle, refused to lie, refused to participate with the government narrative and plan, I made my life much worse in the short term. Because if I had taken a single misdemeanor, that had been a slap on the wrist. I might have just had home confinement or something along those lines. But I had everyone in DC had judges who are, the DC judges are terrible. Let's just be totally frank about it. Wildly leftist and wildly partisan and malicious against anyone identified as a Trump supporter or an America First patriot.
Were any of the judges that were presiding on your case, any of the ones that are in the news right now, Bo Asperger, Tanya Chutkan, any of those judges, were they involved with you?
No, my judge was Christopher Cooper.
Okay.
But he has quite an interesting track record himself, so you can check that out. And I detail this, of course, in the book Patriot Plea, which folks can get a hold of at johnstrand.com. But I went up against that knowing what I knew, knowing that I would be convicted fraudulently anyway, wrongfully convicted and imprisoned, was sent to prison for almost 3 years. But because I didn't take the plea, I appealed immediately. I had a live appeal as a person pleading not guilty. I won at the Supreme Court. I was one of the defendants named in the Fisher case on June 28th of 2024,
Wow.
which ruled that the DOJ was wildly wrong to misuse a law improperly in that form. And of course, that was a huge part of their whole pressure campaign to create all of those plea deals and build
Mhm.
the false narrative.
Where did at the time when the raid happened? Where were you living?
The raid happened shortly after January 6, 2021. So I'm from Los Angeles. I was in LA at that time.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering, is it a blue state or something? Because that just seems a little bit over the top that they would have sent 20 agents out and kicking your front door. You're sitting there just chilling in your house. And I mean, that's an actual assault on somebody. I mean, I had talked to a couple other J6ers and they got phone calls. They were told, hey, come on down. We're going to be doing this and indicting you.
Right.
Why do you think they kicked in your front door and did a raid like that? Was it because you were in California, or I mean, I can't imagine. What was it?
I believe there are many folks in Florida, which is one of the states that has the most J6ers. I actually now live in Naples, Florida.
Wow.
And there are folks in Florida, there are folks across the nation that were assaulted by these violent Gestapo-like FBI SWAT team raids against peaceful, unarmed, decent, normal American citizens. It's one of the most disturbing factors of this whole J6 web of events. And there's a deep, dark web. There's a lot going on, but the FBI raids are a really terrible portion of what the weaponized government unleashed on its own citizens.
So did they arrest you in L.A. and extradite you all the way to Washington, D.C.? Where did you have to be held while you're waiting for trial?
I was actually given pretrial release. Some J6ers were not. Some were held pretrial for years, which is, again, an enormously disturbing, hugely unconstitutional, totally wicked thing that we should never allow to happen in this country ever again. We also should never allow the FBI to be weaponized against families and innocent Americans like this, peaceful Americans. It's absolutely despicable. So those things did happen. I was given pretrial release. So after being disappeared in jail for 4 days, I got out. I had an ankle monitor. That was, of course, absurd. I got that off. And then I had to just participate the painful processes, the punishment, arduous journey of years of dealing with the DC court system via Zoom hearings. Eventually, I did go physically to DC for my trial. That was a year and a half after, in September of 2022. Then I had 7 or 8 months before my sentencing, June 1st of 2023, where the judge literally chastised me for having been public in my speech about the fact that DC is partisan, that I believe the DC court system to be unfair and rigged against January 6th defendants. And for that speech, which obviously is both protected by the First Amendment and also happens to be 100% correct. But either way, the judge was furious that I criticized his court district and made it clear he was sending a message by putting me in prison for almost 3 years, when at the same time, out of his own mouth from the bench, he also acknowledged there was no evidence showing me doing anything because I did nothing. I was only there doing my job, escorting another person through a crowd. That's all I actually did. I'm on video the whole time. It's clearly obvious.
So where was this prison? Is the prison in Washington or was the prison out west?
No, I was incarcerated starting in Florida because I had moved in 2022. So I've been a resident of Naples, Florida the last 3 years. I was incarcerated in the wrong prison, which was another form of weaponized government and punitive abuse of the bureaucratic system. I was raided. Obviously, I have no record. I'm not a criminal. So I have a perfect record. I never should have been put in anything except a lowest level camp where they don't even have walls. But instead, I was put in a much higher level, much more dangerous and difficult prison condition environment in FCI Miami, which has one of the worst isolation units in the country. And I say that because, shockingly, after a media interview, which gained a lot of attention because I told the judge, I told the prison, I told everyone, I've been telling people for the last 5 years straight now, God has called me to speak the truth. God has called me to push back against tyranny and government overreach. I will never stop doing that ever. And I continue to do that lawfully, reasonably in prison, but simply continuing to exercise free speech. And they didn't like that, so they threw me in isolation to disappear me entirely.
When you say isolation, are you talking like solitary?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And it's very difficult for me to to describe this in words or to try to allow your audience to understand how terrible this was. This happened to many J6ers. I'm not the only one. But what they did to us was truly horrific. And it's psychological warfare that is designed to break people down and to crush them and even to kill them, certainly to kill their spirit. And they are terrible things that are done that are supposed to be totally prevented, banned by international Geneva Conventions and Amnesty International and etc. And yet they misuse and abuse and lie about various things they do with these procedures to torment and break down people mentally and even physically. So it was a terrible situation. It is only by the grace of God Almighty that I was able to survive that. It's only because of my faith in Jesus that I had the confidence going in to this situation to even refuse the plea, knowing that I would go to prison. And I mean, of course, I never could have known they were going to put me in isolation and abuse me that badly. It was terrible.
Were there other J6ers where you were, or did they separate? Yes. Okay.
Well, there were a few, but then they separated me by putting me in isolation. So one of their excuses was probably, oh, we can't have him too close to other J6ers because they could cause trouble or whatever their story is.
So the Supreme Court gives a ruling, and what does that ruling do for you? Does it get you released at that point?
Yeah, I was the first and one of only 2 people released, but that's because most people had taken plea deals and had various other charges and felonies and etc. So because that felony was the main charge they applied to me, and because I had never taken a plea and pled not guilty, that's why I won the case at the Supreme Court and I won my freedom at that time. And once we got President Trump reelected and the DOJ reset, I was able to get a complete exoneration of all 5 charges brought against me. So the DOJ filed notice to vacate every single conviction. And so technically pre-pardon, I was legally exonerated within the actual American legal system once it had been set back on course.
So this whole ordeal, you're taken from California, you have to relocate to Florida, you're in jail, you're going through your petition at Supreme Court. Without getting into any of your personal finances, but just like overall, how did you have people backing you? Because it seems like this would have cost like a couple of $100,000 for people to go from, never mind just the defense, but all the way to the Supreme Court. How did you do that?
Absolutely. It certainly cost tens and even hundreds of thousands of dollars for many J6ers to deal with the legal realities of this situation. Many of them are completely destitute, and that's something that's very important to me and should be to the country. That's why we're working on a project called wearej6.com. And I just urge anyone listening to visit and support that website. We're not asking for money. We don't need $1. We just need your time and energy and helping us to share the stories and make a public demand for restorative justice. And I'll mention what exactly that means. But your question about the finances is important. I was decimated. All of us were. In my particular case, Barry, I thankfully have an incredible team and support system, particularly because I'm the creative director at America's Frontline Doctors and goldcare.com. So those organizations have really strong support. And even before January 6th, I was known to be a civil rights advocate fighting against government tyranny and overreach. But that does not change the fact that my whole life story, my American dream, I've been working, I don't come from a wealthy family. I come from a very lower middle class family and worked my own way in Hollywood and New York to develop a career as a model and an actor in a very difficult industry. That entire career was completely erased.
I can imagine they probably all shunned you once they found out you were, on the J6 crew.
Yeah, I call it a digital assassination. Within 48 hours of J6 happening, my entire existence digitally and online, which in today's world represents the body of your work, it didn't exist anymore. So all my photos and resume, all my body of work as a model and actor was erased. Every agency representation contract that I had was canceled and rescinded. I was represented by Wilhelmina Models and many other premier agencies. So I had an actual life that I had built. This was gone. I will never get it back. It's not retrievable. So that's just my personal story there. But many do not have an organization to support them through this and have been homeless, streetless, penniless. They have lost parents, children, marriages. those marriages are gone forever. I heard a story of a father and a son who were both arrested, and the DOJ prevented them from talking to each other for a year while they were held in confinement, and then the son died. And the father is brokenhearted. He'll never talk to his son again.
It's beyond, and what you just described in terms of disowning you and canceling you, that wasn't even enough. I had read something, or maybe I watched a video, that Rolling Stone magazine, in addition to all the stuff you're going through, they decide to attack you and call you the MAGA Zoolander. I mean, is that actually something they said?
It's unbelievable. In this case, this is the silver lining. I actually find it quite humorous, and really, it's amazing they would give me such a fantastic nickname. So I think MAGA Zoolander is fantastic. I'll run with that 100 miles an hour. But yes, Rolling Stone featured me in a feature article, just trying to paint this whole story, right? But if you read the piece, which I actually encourage people to do, I think it makes me sound pretty cool. but they're really trying so hard to push this story, and it just makes you realize, okay, number one, these folks are really bitter. They are really they're so obsessed and controlled by hatred that they can't see or think straight. And they're also sort of pointing out that all J6ers aren't necessarily the stereotype they want you to think of a Midwestern redneck or a militia, a violent militia person or whatever, all of these tropes. So I'm glad that we can give a different approach to who J6ers are, but wearej6.com is a platform that just allows all J6ers to unite and support each other and tell their stories so that the American public can understand who we are. We are your American brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers, co-workers and colleagues and neighbors. We're just Americans who love our country, and truly, specifically, we love the Constitution that sacredly protects the God-given rights we know we all have, and that we should all support each other to be exercising, regardless of if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise. No matter what you think of President Trump or whoever else is the president or any other elected leader, the most sacred thing we have is liberty and equality under law. Right. And that was absolutely desecrated by the J6 witch hunt. So it's very important to re-examine what happened there and make sure it doesn't happen again.
And by the way, the ladies will probably agree with me who are watching, but MAGA Zoolander may not be that much of an insult because you look much better than Ben Stiller. Let me just tell you that, okay?
I'll take it. I'll take all the compliments they want to throw at me.
I saw something that I wanted to bring to your attention. I'm going to have to put it on screen. You won't be able to see it, but other people, well, you might be able to see it. Do you know who Jenna Ryan is?
I think I recognize the name.
All right, so this woman, Jenna Ryan, and it's very interesting. She is an infamous J6 political prisoner, pardoned by Trump, secures default in a $185 million case against PayPal and targets CBS next. And when I saw that, and you guys can go find this and read it, here's a woman who basically, I don't know how similar her situation was with you, but just like having her career destroyed, I'm not sure if she was a model or if she was on television. Here, this is what she looks like. And so she, another good-looking woman. I believe she was probably in television, but because she got deplatformed, she got debanked by PayPal. Yes. CBS wrote all kinds of unflattering stuff, just like Rolling Stone. Perhaps, maybe you could get an attorney, because if she just got a $185 million settlement or judgment, Maybe it's time for you to do the same, because I was reading your backstory and I started reading her backstory, and I'm like, well, literally in the article that she wrote here, she says, PayPal and CBS canceled me from society. And I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly your story. You got canceled from society. You're working in Hollywood. You're a male model. You're probably making money, and then all of a sudden, poof, it's gone. And then you've got Rolling Stone poking fun at you and calling you MAGA Zoolander, and like it's some big joke. Perhaps that you have a precedent now to like go after these people. I would love to see some of the J6ers like her, like you, start swinging back and start reclaiming some of what I feel is due to you people. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the joke should be on them. I agree. And we'll definitely look at those precedents. We're working a lot of ideas and angles on legal remedies, as well as continuing political pressure and helping to educate the American people so we have the full public demand for restorative justice.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of things we're talking about. We're talking about certainly there needs to be a significant settlement agreement negotiated with the administration for what the DOJ and the DC court system inflicted on all of these J6 defendants. But we do need to look at the defamatory impact of the widespread false and very vicious narrative that legacy media, which is very closely coordinated with a corrupted government, as we now know, these entities have been absolutely malicious. They've been just disgusting. There's really no other better word for it.
Yeah.
And they do need to have accountability, or it will just simply continue, obviously.
Yeah.
And so that's true of defamation from CBS and PayPal and et cetera. I was debanked and deplatformed and all of those things as well. Most J6ers were. And then you've got, of course, the overt weaponization of government institutions, from the FBI to the prison system and the DOJ and the courts and all of this. It's only things continue to happen unless you take action to change the course. And people will continue to misbehave until they have a penalized reason to change course. So we absolutely have to demand for truth, transparency, and accountability. And we're calling for that through both victim recovery and government accountability in terms of pursuing restorative justice. So that is the mission, and we really need every American to get behind that with us at wearej6.com.
So how are you personally doing right now? You feel good? I mean, you look fine.
Thank you for asking that, Barry.
How do you feel?
I really feel great. It's not to say that it didn't take a toll. I'm exhausted a lot. It wore me out a lot. It really did. So I've been just doing a lot of work at home to get myself grounded, get back in church, get back in the gym, and just get my mind and my body set straight. But God's been very gracious to me, and I'm doing really well. And in addition to working on wearej6.com, I continue to forge ahead with goldcare.com and America's Frontline Doctors, defending civil liberties. And I'm also praying and looking very closely at the potential of maybe jumping in the fray in the political mix. And that's all I'm going to say right now, but stay tuned for more information coming.
Well, with everything you've gone through, no one's going to get that time back. No one's going to get that emotion fixed. But if this thing is actually worth pursuing, you deserve to have some compensation for everything that you've gone through. And we'll keep praying for you. Thank you very much for taking the time. I know it can't be. I can't imagine if it's one thing to have like your home robbed, but you would never think your own government would just kick in your front door and have 20 armed guys come in just because you were, at an event per se. And it's just ridiculous. So we'll pray for you. We'll keep you in our prayers. I'm going to direct everybody. You can see in the lower third, John Strand, USA. John, thank you very much for taking the time and for coming back after you got bumped by Karoline. I really appreciate that.
Anytime. I'm happy to defer to Karoline. She's amazing. So God bless her and President Trump. And thank you for your time, Barry. It's a pleasure to see you, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Just stay safe and good, Godspeed to you, brother. Thank you very much.
Stay strong.
All right. Bye-bye.
Amen.
All right, everybody. That was John Strand. If you guys would like to follow him, again, it's at johnstrand.com and on X, John Strand USA. He also has a profile for his book, John Strand, Patriot Plea, the Magazoolander. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't take too much offense to that because, I mean, the guy's a good-looking dude. Not that I'm, I don't play that way, but you know what I'm saying. The guy, he looks better than Ben Still. I'm pretty sure the ladies in here are like, yeah, that's how it is. Crazy. Can't imagine. I cannot even imagine laying in bed. You know what would really kill me? Just drive me crazy and probably turn me into a madman. I'd probably be okay, and I would probably be able to assess myself and take care of Robin, but I would be terrified, absolutely terrified, that one of these trigger-happy guys would shoot my dog. because I'm telling you, if you kicked in the door here and came in, he only weighs, I don't know, about 12 pounds, but Midas going to come for you. I mean, he's actually going to come for you. And if they shot him, then they'd probably end up shooting me, because at that point, I cannot believe cops that kill dogs, little dogs, just because the dog charges them or something. That's actually absolutely crazy. So I'm going to cut now and put on the after party while the after party's running. So if you guys are going to be hanging out, if you guys let me just check to make sure if there's anything live right now. There's nothing live going on, so I'm not sure. He's supposed to do this thing at 2:30, but I doubt it's going to be live, so I will cover it, but then we'll cover the live thing at 6:30. Let me just check and one other thing to see if it's coming out. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Let me check a couple of the feeds, and I'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to go have some lunch. I'll leave the after party on. If he ends up coming on, we'll go ahead and I'll jump back in here. I did want to show you this, something SV sent me. It said, watch, President Trump plants a new magnolia tree in front of the White House. This comes just a couple days after a tree planted by Andrew Jackson had to be removed for safety reasons. That's interesting. But anyway, they have a short video, and President Trump is actually planting a tree. Dude's out there in a full suit well, he's probably used to doing that with the golden shovel when he would start off development, so they're probably very, very used to him doing that. So in any event, before I start that, let me go ahead and be sure to check whatever super chats may have come in before I hit the sound on the after party. I would bet, for the most part, this is going to be something I'm going to have to tape and have ready, because he's not gonna. I doubt they're going to do it live. Hold on, let me just make sure I've got everything in place. Wow, what a day! What a day! I love these days when she comes on, because there's so much stuff to cover. Man, all right, here we go. Is there anything in here? Yeah, there's stuff here that I can talk to you guys about really quick. Alrighty, hold on. Let me pull this down. Okay, here we go. From Staten 2033, never bet against Trump or real Americans. Exactly. Mama Mima, how is creating a shadow government not treason? Very good question. Staten again, the new party panicking is the entire party was protesting last weekend. We have the GOP, the Dems, and now panicking crazies. I love panicking. Oscar Chavez, thank you. Robert Husbands, can you imagine associating yourself with this crazy? Buddy Sanders, time to deport the 2 divisions of illegal Chinese men that crossed the border under Biden. Yes. Ken Romolino, other shows like Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro have set times and their news is late, and Ben there heard that boring. Keep doing what you're doing, Barry. Thank you very much. That's what I try to do, is jump in when it happens. Tracy Lee, this is going to be a heck of a 4 amazing years. I agree with that. Biddlebean, Barry, your energy is amazing. You are the soaring eagle of truth. Thank you. I like my Lord for you every day. Wow, that's very nice. Very, very nice. Thank you. Whiskey Monkey, I was good hearing this saying boys will be boys instead of saying toxic masculinity. I would love to buy stock in Karoline. Donna says, oh, absolutely. She's so good. I mean, just so good. Light years different from, what's her name? KJP. KJP was awful. Absolutely awful. All right, so I'm going to turn on the after party, and we'll see if something happens while I'm eating lunch or something, but I don't think we're going to see anything happen. I think they're going to, I could be wrong. But in any event, whatever happens, I will go ahead and tape that and have that for the 6:30 show. Talk to you in a little while.
you.